check and be sure everyone is able to get online and hear us and see all the materials and everything that we've prepared for you. If you'll go to the next screen. So Astrid will be doing our tech work. Just a reminder that we are recording this webinar. So if you have some colleagues who aren't able to join us live, who want to visit the recording another time, we'll be sure and put it both in the Schoology group for adult career pathways, and then we'll put it, of course, on the YouTube channel where we put all of our recordings as well. Astrid, do you want to say hello and see if anyone has any tech concerns?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I am here to help out with any tech issues you're having, so you can chat to me directly if you need any assistance throughout the webinar. Thanks for being with us today.
Great, thank you. All right, so on the next screen, you'll see who's going to be joining us this afternoon. We've got a handful of people who you are very familiar with and some you may not know. So let's just make sure we can hear Julie. Julie Dinkow, do you want to just say hello? Be sure your sound
Hello,
is
everyone.
Great, thanks, Julie. Julie and Astrid are together at the Department of Education. I'm here at Atlas. And Heather, I'm going to let you say hello. Be sure we can hear you okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Great, thanks, Heather. And then we have some special guests joining us later in the webinar as well. Shane is joining us from Great Rivers Adult Education, and then Nadine and Kim coming to us from Rochester this afternoon. So thank you so much, everyone. We hope you had a good holiday week. Hard to come back to another week of work and then the holidays begin, but we are glad you were able to make time this afternoon for this important topic. So the objectives for today are on the next screen. First of all, we want to be sure that by the time this webinar has ended, that you're able to articulate some reasons for ABE and post-secondary institutions to partner in design and delivery of career pathways. Also identify some types of partnerships within colleges. Of course, they vary greatly. To share some examples of some partnerships in Minnesota that are working. Some access to some adult career pathways tools and resources for working with post-secondary institutions. We have a wealth of things to share with you, some of which are in the resources already. And then we want to be sure you know how to join the ACP networking group and know about some future professional development events and things happening. So that is the plan for this afternoon. I'm going to turn it back over actually to Julie, who will ask this question. I'm going to stop the webcam and we'll see you at the end of the webinar. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Julie, and we're starting off with why. Why do we need the partnerships between adult basic education and colleges? The obvious question is why. In OCTAE, our federal office would say, this is their statement, it is widely acknowledged that the fastest growing jobs in the 21st century will require some level of post-secondary education. Consequently, moving more people through post-secondary programs aligned with the economic needs of community or region is vital to our nation's future competitiveness, security, and stability. So in Minnesota, the local community colleges are represented on the local workforce development board. This is one way that they assure that the programming offered at Minnesota State post-secondary programs are aligned with the economic needs of the community. Minnesota State is the largest training provider in the state. So let me just repeat that. Minnesota State is the largest training provider in the state of Minnesota. The system is the largest, the fourth largest in the United States overall, and it serves about 375,000 students annually. So it only makes sense that we would partner with Minnesota State. Next slide, please. But if you look at it from a student perspective and not a state, federal, or perspective, from a student's perspective, why should we partner to better help our learners? And the correlation between educational attainment and an increase in the earnings has been very well documented. So the visual you're looking at right now is slightly dated, and the data comes from Iowa, and it shows information about trends between where a person who earns their GED, how many of them actually would get to completing a credential. It's a little discouraging, but it emphasizes our need to really work with the community colleges in developing career pathways so that learners have a clear idea of how to make that transition once they have their GED into a pathway. So next slide, please. Yep. So in addition to just showing how many individuals who get their GED actually do not complete a credential, we can always go back to the tipping point research, which shows that in order for someone to move out of poverty, they need to go beyond the high school equivalency. What they need to reach the tipping point is at least 2 semesters of credits and a credential. 2 semesters of credit and a credential to have a substantial earnings advantage over students who earn 10 credits or less. So the study found, however, that few students that reach the tipping point with adult basic education skills rarely go on to college. So we need to change that. Next slide, please. So what I often hear from the ABE field in Minnesota is we're supposed to work with colleges, but yet we're only supposed to teach up to like the secondary level. We're not supposed to be teaching what's traditionally been considered post-secondary content. And there is a study that is attached in the materials to this webinar that was created by the Office of Higher Education that documents the number of learners that attend community colleges but do not have post-secondary level skills. So people that may have a high school credential do not always have the academic skills that they need to be successful in college. So over 30,000 students enrolled in developmental education in Minnesota state colleges and universities in 2016. That's 30,000 students. And system data showed the enrollment in developmental education disproportionately overrepresented by students of color, low income, and first generation students. Now, if you compare that with ABE data, a 2015 analysis of ABE data showed that we have 81% population that were learners of color. So ideally, students could gain the academic skills they need in conjunction with occupational training at the same time. Next slide, please. So again, why the 2-year community technical college system in Minnesota? Many of them offer short-term certificates or credentials that do not have to be at the college level or what's deemed college level on an ACPlacer. You can get credentials that don't have to meet those cut scores. Another reason is access. And was actually 1969, the governor requested that public post-secondary institutes should be located within 35 miles of every Minnesota community of 5,000 or more. A public institution with at least the first 2 years of college should be located within 20 miles of every Minnesota community of 10,000 or more. So that gives you some idea of access that learners have across the state of Minnesota. Now, some of those campuses have closed, but others have expanded across the state. So when you're talking brick and mortar institutions, Minnesota has quite a few throughout the state. So students have access. If you combine that with online programming, there's quite a bit more, but that doesn't necessarily suit the adult basic education learner when going to college. Affordability is our two-year institutions are some of the most affordable in the state, if not the most affordable in the state. I should also include our tribal colleges in there, Leech Lake, Red Lake, White Earth, and well, Fond du Lac's a combination tribal and public institution. And then the other piece that is great about this system is that you can transfer credits between institutions. And there's this stackability of credentials within the institutions as well. So that individual who might take a course at one institution and moves will not have to duplicate taking those additional courses at another institution. Okay, and here is an example of an adult career pathway. And this is child development. And so I think, yes, if you could just go through this. Yep, so you start with low interim child development course and you move into a bridge course, which is going to build in your transition skills. A lot of times those are soft skills. And then you move into a certificate at a local community college. So this is what they're talking about as far as stackable credentials. They build upon each other. And so from a certificate, you could move into a diploma at a community college as well. So that's a stackable pathway. But in order to be a good career pathway, you also need exits where you can drop in and drop out at the convenience of a student's life, which doesn't always allow them to go for 3 years consistently. So you have entry-level employment that you can get with a certificate or a diploma. Eventually, the idea is to become a teacher, which is at the top of kind of this ladder. And then you have supports around it. So, so you have the ABE curriculum instruction. And this is the piece we're focusing on now, is that piece combined with the college credential courses. And you have CBOs, or workforce navigation and support services, providing that wraparound service so that an individual can stay on a pathway. They can provide financial services, counseling services, and help in other ways as well. And that's what really is the glue to keep someone along a pathway. Very few programs, you can say that very few programs across the state of Minnesota have a fully, completely realized adult career pathway, but there are a lot of different programs that are well on their way and have started that journey, and we're hoping just to expand that type of programming across the state of Minnesota. Okay. Then there's a few definitions. Some people are very familiar with these, and some of these might be new to you. So one of them is the ability to benefit. And if you look into the materials section of this webinar again, there is a brief on ability to benefit. And basically, ability to benefit is a federal law that if an individual can show that they can benefit from going to college, and they can do that 3 different ways. They can take the AccuPlacer, and they have scores that are not college level, but if they hit those ability to benefit scores, they can enroll and access financial aid. They can get 6 credits or more to access financial aid. If they already have 6 credits, they can access, and that shows they have the ability to benefit. And then there's another one which requires a waiver from the state, which isn't individual, but we're kind of looking into that one as well. But that's ability to benefit. Why is it important? It's important because adult basic education does not have to use their very limited funding to help a learner progress on the pathway. We want to leverage financial aid so that that will pay for their college coursework. Articulation agreements are a formal document produced when 2 or more academic institutions follow a process leading to a partnership to provide a formalized pathway for student transfer. I think Nadine will mention this a little further on. There is, again, an example of this attached to the webinar. And these really came out of a push with career and technical education. They can be difficult to create, but in the right situation, if you can get an articulation agreement, they can do wonders for the learners and really benefit the learners. A bridge course is designed to prepare advanced level learners for entry into and success in a post-secondary or other non-ABE training program. So again, this is not co-teaching, this is not IET, this is an adult basic education course that leads up to a learner transitioning into an occupational course. And that's what a bridge course is. Career and technical education programs offer academic and technical skills, knowledge, and training to succeed in future careers. That is a definition that at the national level, there were so many definitions out there of what is career and technical education. They landed on this one, and it's a very broad definition. And how we use it mostly is to refer to occupational training. Next slide. Okay, customized training. Most Minnesota State 2-year community colleges used to have what was called a customized training department. And this was a non-credit training division, if you want to call it, of the institution, where they tried to design training to meet employer or credential needs. Because they had to be self-sustaining, some of these customized training departments have combined, so that several community colleges will now offer one customized training or have one customized training department. And they really do work with employers in an area who have a need for training. And the benefit of working with customized training, ABE can work with customized training, is that it's flexible. You don't have to go on a semester based, it's hours based, and they can really design stuff and work with ABE partners to really look at the needs that a learner or a group of learners may have. Co-enrollment. In the field of adult basic education, it usually refers to students who receive services from both an ABE program and another program. That could be, this other program could be through community or technical college or a workforce program. Our biggest co-enrollment partner is MFIP, Minnesota Family Investment Program. We also have a very strong co-enrollment with WIOA, Title I Youth. They're a pretty high co-enrollment partner as well. And why is that important? It's important to co-enroll learners because they can access additional funding through partnering with these other entities. Not only if they don't offer funding, some of them will offer intensive counseling support, more one-to-one services, whereas an adult basic education teacher usually cannot provide that amount of time to address one learner's needs. Concurrent course is a course taught by an ABE instructor that runs during the same term as a post-secondary or other training course in which the ABE instructor helps build basic transitions and digital literacy skills necessary for the success in post-secondary course. So that might be where a learner is interested in automotive, and the ABE program has 7 students that are in the automotive program, so they're going to offer a concurrent course in addition to that to provide more support for that individual. Credit versus non-credit are designed to earn college units toward a degree or certificate, and non-credit courses do not receive applicable credit toward a degree. And you'll notice that when I mentioned or talked about customized training, that has been the biggest issue for adult basic education not to work with customized training, is because they are hour-based and not credit-based. And a learner, again, needs those credits in order to turn on their financial aid to continue taking coursework. Transferable credit is acceptance of prior course learning between post-secondary institutions.
Julie, we've got a question from Mag. Mag, I'm unmuting you. You'll need to unmute on your end as well. And Heather, if you could go back to the previous slide with the ability to benefit definition. Mag, you'll need to unmute on your end as well by clicking on your microphone icon. You could also chat in your question, Mag. We're not hearing you. You're still muted on your end. Go ahead, Mag.
Well, maybe while she's just adjusting her connection here, I'll mention that if you're still confused about these definitions or the terminology and you want a handy reference, download the ACP glossary that is in the materials tab on this webinar or on the Atlas website.
Okay, Meg, if you would like to chat in your question, we can respond to you that way.
Oh wait, I'm seeing something here. Sorry. Yeah, it's about ability to benefit.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and chat it, and we'll come back to you at the end of the webinar in the Q&A period.
Yep, sounds good. Okay, on to Heather.
Thanks, Julie, for all of that information and also for telling people where they can find some of these terms within the materials section. There were a few of the definitions that have not been updated in the ACP glossary, and we hope to get that soon, but we will have this archived webinar available on the Minnesota ABE YouTube channel, as well as in our ACP Schoology group, so you can get some of those definitions. But I want to make sure we hear from everyone. We have a good group of people participating in this webinar from all over Minnesota, and I would like you all to take a moment to chat out and shout out what is the partnerships that you have with a community college, one or many, in your area. You can let us know the name of the college or the location, and I'll just be reading out. I can let you know I am here in Minneapolis, and we work with what's called MCTC, Minneapolis Community and Technical College, also now called Minneapolis College. Laura is up at Leech Lake Tribal College in Cass Lake. Thank you. I'd like to find out where else in Minnesota you are listening or watching the webinar, as well as what community college. Teresa Zingery is at Anoka Tech and Anoka Ramsey Community College. Chris Dalkey is at Minnesota State College Southeast in Winona. Cynthia Secord is at Anoka Tech College, Anoka Ramsey Community College. Dana is down at South Central College. We've got a few folks down there in North Mankato. Karen Walters is also down in that area. Ron, I think you're also Mankato proud, strong partnership with South Central College in North Mankato. Jody up in northern Minnesota under a lot of snow at Lake Superior College. Julie is out at Alexandria Tech and Community College. We have folks from all over making partnerships with those colleges. Tracy Chase, she's got a few out there. Hibbing Community College, Itasca Community College, Mesabi Range, Rainy River, and FDLTCC. I'm not sure what that is, but that's something community college. Allison Wilcox is in Bloomington at Hennepin Technical College, customized training. Anne is down in Ridgewater College in both Wilmer and Hutchinson. So we have collaborations happening all around the state. And it's great to hear that we have ABE folks participating in the webinar from all around the state. I can read any more of the collaborations if you know of those happening in your area. If they're not happening yet, we hope that this webinar is going to help you make those next steps in preparation for planning more collaborations with your community colleges. We have a number of people who have started this work, and we want to hear from them today. We want to hear the voices from the field, a snapshot of what the Adult Career Pathway Partnerships are doing here in Minnesota. We're going to start with our friend Shane, who's at Great Rivers Adult Education Consortium. He's the transitions coordinator, and I just want to make sure, can unmute himself so that he is able to let us know about the great work he's doing in that area. And it just doesn't happen overnight, and he's going to walk us through his collaboration, some of the ways they got it started in his area, some of the challenges, the creative solutions to those challenges, and some key advice for those of us watching to make plans for our next steps. So Shane, when you're ready, you can unmute yourself, and then we'll have you let us know about what great work you're doing.
I should be unmuted, so thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. So I just wanted a little bit about our consortium. A couple years ago, in 2017, our program, which serves South Washington County School District, we joined with Hastings School District to form Great Rivers Adult Education Consortium. We serve about a 250 square mile area in the East Metro. So our primary area, our hub areas are Woodbury, Cottage Grove, and Hastings, but several little small communities all surrounding there. The school districts that we serve have a population of about 130,000 or so, with about 23,000 kids and adults in the school system. Speaking a little bit broadly about our program, we average about 41,000 contact hours or instructional hours each year. Last year we had 9,600 of those hours were in Minnesota State institutions. So whether that was at Century, we also have a partnership with Dakota County Technical College. So we work with both of those sites. We have about 800 students in our program, and that ranges over 6 sites. So we've got classrooms in our district buildings in South Washington County and Hastings. We are on Minnesota State campuses in Rosemont and Matamidi. We also have community spaces. We're at the Stafford Library. We also do classes at the Park Grove Library, and then sometimes we do some work at the Hastings Library as well. We work in county corrections, so we're at the Dakota County Jail 3 days a week, or actually 4 days a week now. We're on Saturdays as well, we teach. And then we also do work in the workplace. So we have a partnership with Renewal by Anderson in Hastings, and then a extrusion manufacturer called Intech Plastics in in Hastings, Minnesota. And so we offer classes to their current population on Saturday mornings from 8 to 12. So we're kind of dipping our feet in a lot of different pools to serve as many of our students as we possibly can. All right, and so some of the questions that were posed to us when we were kind of putting this together is, how does this partnership with colleges benefit our students? And so I have on here legitimize education experience, but I really use that word legitimize carefully. As many of us know in the past, it's, ABE instructors have kind of been looked at as like the stepchildren of, the K-12 institution. If people can't make it in K-12 education, then they end up in the, in the stockpile of ABE instructors. That mentality is really changing. And I think one of the ways that we kind of show that is with our partnerships with our Minnesota State partners. It really helps us, show that we can offer a valid credential, and it lets our, and when we're accepted as peers by our, faculty at Minnesota State, it kind of, bolsters, what a lot of our students see in us. So, and they do see that we're actually real teachers, that we've got, master's degrees and doctorates and everything. And so we know what we're talking about. Another way that it helps, it provides a safe environment for our students to learn and train. And then it also provides opportunity for personal success and achievement. And so with our pathway, they're working towards an official college credential. So it's our pathway is a pathway to office technology. And so the focus is on developing computer skills and productivity software skills. So they're really focusing on a computer skills certificate with the emphasis on the Microsoft Office suite. But we also do work with Google, with the Google suite in our Bridge program as well. But they're getting a real education in the Bridge. They're getting a real education at Minnesota State. I'm in the classroom with them from Bridge all the way through to the time they graduate or they complete their certificate. And so they really have a safe way to feel supported by this partnership. And then in addition to me being there, we also have our navigator from the Workforce Center, which we're not really talking about the Workforce Centers or Career Force in this discussion, but that's another huge piece of our partnership is the support services that we get from Career Force, and our navigator is in the class every week. We have Workforce or Career Force trainers that come every Wednesday to do workshops to help make sure our people are employable. They've got strong resumes. They've got interview skills. They work with skills inventories, things like that. So we're really doing a lot of different things to make sure they're focusing on not just their education, but making them employable as well. And then, okay. And then, so how does this benefit our program? I think one of the key ways that it benefits us is it really allows us the opportunity to network with higher ed. We have the chance to work very closely with the deans. Every year we get together in the summer to talk about our winter program. We get together during the fall to talk about what we're going to do, what different ways we might approach our pathway, and this really gives us the opportunity to make these deep and meaningful connections. And so we've got strong connections with the faculty. We've been doing this office technology pathway for the last 7 years, and there's a lot of pieces in Minnesota State have changed over the last 7 years. But one of the constants is the 2 instructors that teach the classes that we put our people in are the same 2 instructors that have been there since day one. And so Cindy and Carol and I have a really great rapport with one another. We text each other when we're not on campus together. Cindy has a little hobby farm that she brings in eggs and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that we maintain friendships as well as working relationships with them. And so really making those networking connections is a huge component. It also gives our program an opportunity to gain a deeper understanding of the Minnesota state system, because it is so vast and it covers the whole state, a huge region, and there's so many different components to it. We deal with financial aid piece. We work with the registrar. We've got to do applying for graduation or applying for certification. So there's a lot of different systems within that. And this kind of goes back to that ACES-TIF framework, is that, this navigating systems piece. A lot of our students are first-time students in secondary, post-secondary education. A lot of them are from other countries that have never had to navigate the United States post-secondary system before. And so really kind of helping them out, helping them through this maze. And then, with that, the admissions people from Century come out to our classroom, our bridge classroom, in December, close to the end of our bridge, and they help go through the application for like the registration paperwork for admission into Century. And so they really do a great job of making everything as seamless as possible, from coming out to our site to bringing us onto their site, giving our cohort a private tour. They just make it feel very welcoming to our students, and I think that's a huge way that it benefits us. And then it also gives our program ways to broaden our outreach. We've had several students that were not necessarily a part of our cohort at Century that ended up coming to take classes with our ABE program because they wanted additional skills in English or whatever other classes we might offer, like our foreign language book club or whatever. So there's a lot of different ways that it helps broaden our ability to reach our population. And then how does it benefit our college? And this is kind of my personal view of how it benefits the college. But since when we start up this pathway, I am on campus Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all morning, and I'm in the classroom with our cohort, and it really gives me an opportunity to support our cohort of students. But in addition to that, I'm helping out all of the other students that are there as well. So even the people that aren't in our cohort, they're benefiting from that support as well. I'm also there to support the faculty. And so when we, every other year when we go through revamping the curriculum, taking a look at what books to use, they include me in that role. I have connections with the publishing company at Cengage. They send me the textbooks to review, and we get to choose together how we want to go forward with the next year, the next cohort year. It also allows Century to have improved completion rates. I think in the 7 years that we've been doing this program with them, we've had 1 or 2 people a year at most withdraw from the classes that we've been a part of. And so I think traditionally the dropout rate or the non-completion rate has been a little bit higher than that. But we have just this knack, with our relationship with our cohort of students, with our faculty and my relationship together, we try to create this, this net of support, and we don't allow people to fail, really. And so that's kind of one of our little mantras, is that you have to try to fail in this pathway that we're doing. It also helps make sure that these classes go through. There's some of the classes that we do at Century, like the Excel specific class, the PowerPoint specific class, that there have been times when during the summer or during the fall term that there hasn't been high enough enrollment in one section or another that they've had to cancel it. But with our cohort, they're guaranteed a group of 20 people to take the class, out of 30. And so all they need is another 10 people to fill that entire class. And so it's, they're making sure that they're going to go through with the classes as planned. And it also allows us to provide an opportunity to supply our instructors with data. And that's something that they don't traditionally have. They might see some AccuPlacer scores, but when we do post-testing and pre-testing and post-testing with TABE or CASAS, whatever we're using. Right now, I'm using TABE for my cohort. My other colleagues in ABE in our program are using CASAS instead. But I still prefer TABE, even though it's a little bit longer. But I'm familiar with it. I get a lot of really good usable information, and that's information that I can share with the faculty at Century. So if somebody's struggling with a specific concept in English or math, it might help answer why they're not grasping Excel. So we can really work together to see how we can support those needs of individual students. All right, and then how did our program begin our collaboration? In 2013, we started with a fast track grant, and it was really for like a one-year thing. We found out we got the grant in late October, early November, and we had to hit the ground running. The classes at Century started in January, that second week of January. And so we really, and this will kind of go into that next slide, we can keep it here for a moment, but it really kind of informed the way we went forward. We knew we were going to do it for another year, but we made a ton of mistakes that first year, and we learned a lot from those mistakes. We had a decent success with it, but we learned a tremendous amount. It also allowed us, one of the things that collaboration does, it creates an open dialogue with the stakeholders. So with our career force partners, then it was workforce, with our employment partners, with the Minnesota State, with ABE, it brings all of us to the table. And so it really shows that we're not in competition with one another, which I think used to be this mentality, is that, everybody's after the same people, and if one person gets them, then somebody else doesn't. But it really helped us change that mentality, that we're all there to help this group of people in any way we can. And that's one of the things, and one of the things that this program brought. It kind of reframed the way all of us together looked at these students. All right, and so some of the challenges that we've encountered, the first thing was a lack of understanding about what ABE does. And again, and that kind of goes back with the teachers as well. We had to, one of the hurdles we had to overcome was language. I couldn't be called like a co-teacher or a team teacher in the classroom. It was all about, kind of either the tutor language or support or whatever, but whatever language that we needed to use, I was happy to use it. I just wanted to be able to help the people. Another issue was the college turnover. A lot of turnover in Minnesota State within the deans, within faculty. It was nice for us because we kept that same core with Cindy and Carol and I for the last 7 years. And then we had the same dean until recently. And so that was one really comforting piece about this partnership. But there was so many things around us that were changing all the time that made it a little difficult to go forward sometimes. One of the other challenges that we had was, making sure that our ABE people were accepted as peers by Century College. And that with Cindy and Carol, that was never an issue. From day one, they really welcomed me in. They treated me as an equal. They treated me as a colleague. They know that I have the same level of education as they do. And they knew that I wasn't after their jobs. So Sometimes that, I've heard stories about other people, using a partnership to kind of get their foot in the door with a college. But I am very happy with what I'm doing. I love my role in this partnership, and they know that as well. And so there's that comfort level that I'm not out there for anybody's job. One of the other huge hurdles was limited space on the campus. And one way that we kind of have gotten around that is that in the fall, so right now already, we have my computer lab blocked out from January through May. And so all of that support time that I'm on campus from January to May, that's already been scheduled. And so, we're guaranteed that we've got a computer lab. And so that's a really nice comforting piece to know. And it's nice to know that Century thinks so much about this pathway that they're allowing us the opportunity to do this and to block this lab out for us, 6 months in advance. All right, and so key advice for other programs: make sure that you, as an ABE practitioner, one of the things that we needed to do is make sure that we're filling the role that they need us to fill. If that is somebody who stands in the corner, then I guess stand on the corner. But with our program, it was we followed this integrated instructor model where the faculty was teaching from the front of the class and I was teaching from the back of the class. And it allowed us to go through the material in a way that the faculty could continue to teach. They wouldn't have to constantly stop the class to help out one person or another. They had me to do that. And so that was one of the things that was really a huge benefit, is that we could continue on with our work and not have to keep stopping along the way. Build those relationships, develop and foster the relationships. Again, it's, taking the time, before class, after class, outside of the program, to make connections with the people you're working with, especially if there's longevity to that partnership. Right now I can't see wanting to continue this pathway that we have if Cindy and Carol aren't there. I mean, our relationship is just so solid that I don't know that I'd feel comfortable, dancing with another partner. Another way, learn to adapt to change. That's one thing that most of us can do pretty well, but there's so much change going on with staff, with the schedules. I know we've had a lot of snow days. We've had to kind of do improvisations. I mean, adapt to change, and then expect that there's going to be road bumps along the way. Even though we've been doing this for 7 years, we still experience a little hiccup here and there. And so just know that there's going to be, some obstacles, and trust that you're going to be able to get through them. And I think that's it for that slide. All right, and then what tools and resources have been useful to us? And, I chose not to talk about like the CCRS guidebook, the ACES TIF, all that paper-based stuff, the digital literacy components that we all know very well, Atlas's website, all that stuff. But the resources that I have found have been most useful are admissions reps at Century. They're crucial to making sure that our program is a success. They come out beforehand. If there's any hiccup with a financial aid issue or with a credentialing piece, we get that taken care of, weeks or months in advance. So that those admissions people have been great. The dean's assistant, working with Century for so long, I've gotten to know Julie, who's our dean's assistant, really well. And if there's anything I need, I have her direct phone number, I have her direct email. I can just contact her and she will get it for me, within 15, 20 minutes. So she is the dean's assistant is a huge ally to have. Also, the people that teach around the area that you're teaching in, not necessarily the same department. We're in the business administration, computer applications area, but the cybersecurity people that are around us, like Ismail and Scott and the other guys, the people that do the IT work, it's really good to have people that are looking out for you and looking out for your students. And so making those allies with the other instructors or the faculty that's around you is a huge component. Also, the D2L administrator, that the whole system runs through D2L. And if you can make sure you've got access to those classes that you're in, if you've got access to the system, the D2L, Paul Coyen is the person at Century. He is a huge help in making sure that our program is successful. And then also our navigator with the career force. They're at Century once a week, working through with our people, meeting with Cindy and Carol and and our dean, just to make sure that everything runs smoothly, people have the support they need. And this, I think that's about it. I mean, but those resources are the ones that I've found that have been most helpful for the success of our partnership.
Shane, you have so much great information. I think you're a wealth of knowledge for making collaboration just seem to work seamlessly within your area. I'd like to make sure that everyone has a moment to either chat out a takeaway or maybe a question that you have from Shane's presentation. I'd like to point out that Liz is just talking about creating those relationships between that ABE instructor and the college faculty. It takes time to build any relationship, but when you can sit there and help support all the students in the classroom, that is just very powerful, and it's a great way of making it so concrete and the rationale for having this collaboration. Does anyone else want to be sharing? You could raise your hand, we could unmute you, or it might be easier to chat out, maybe a takeaway or a question that you might have for Shane. Teresa Luther Dolan, Shane, thanks for your information. It's very helpful.
You are very welcome.
I would agree. I think it's great to see how well you are collaborating within your area and making sure that folks are aware of what we do in adult basic education. I think some of what you were speaking to about the data can also be used as a way to open the door into getting into more collaboration with our community colleges. Cynthia says, sounds like people are the biggest resource relied on. And yes, people and those relationships, Cynthia. Are there any other questions that people might have? Allison Wilcox, love the idea of making friends with the admissions folks. Yes, and we need to do that. Shane, who introduced you to the people at the college? And that comes from Julie Dinkow. If you could maybe address her question.
During our planning sessions, this was when Jane was the dean over in that department, but she really decided which instructors, which faculty would be the most likely to be willing to partner with somebody. And so Jane was the one that introduced us, and I mean, she was a genius. I mean, because Cindy and Carol have been just brilliant to work with.
That's wonderful. Ron Fleischman down south says oftentimes community college instructors are not trained teachers. They often welcome help with curriculum planning, retraining, etc. And I think you pointed that out, how you're able to support not just the students, but also the faculty. Mm-hmm. Laura says, I like that you stated to find our role and fill it. We are not taking over the instructor's role, but enhancing and learning. Linda has a question. Why do you prefer TABE over CASAS?
I prefer TABE over CASAS because I'm familiar with TABE. I've been using it. I'm not a huge fan of the current model, but just because it takes quite a bit longer. But I'm just more familiar with it. I know how to to do the IDPs, and so that's everyone else in our program is using CASAS, and they're trying to convert me. But I'm kind of one of these old dinosaurs that is, you know, that is unwavering so far. I might come around to the dark side, but right now I'm still using TABE.
And I think there's other of us who are also still using TABE. If there are some other questions, please feel free to chat them out. In the meantime, I'm going to move us along. We have some other wonderful folks who are ready to give us some information about what they have been doing for collaboration. We have Nadine Holthaus and Kim Fanning, both out of the Rochester ABE program. And I'm going to ask Shane to unmute, and I'm going to ask Nadine to, Shane to mute himself and Nadine to unmute, and then we can take it away from Nadine.
Hello. Good afternoon. This is Nadine Holthaus, and with me is Kim Fanning. Can you hear us?
Yep, we hear you just fine. Thank you, Nadine. Go ahead.
Okay, so I guess we'll start out by on the next slide. We'll tell you a little bit about our program. We serve 7 school districts in our consortium. Last year we served about 1,700 students. We have 9 different stackable bridges to career pathways. Our main college, the one that we have our collaborations with, is Rochester Community and Technical College. That's our local college.
We also work some with Mayo School of Health Sciences in their certificate programs, but primarily it's the Rochester Community and Technical College.
How does partnering with a college benefit our students? Well, for us, we have, I think we said 11 courses are articulated right now. And so it saves our students quite a bit of money because they can get those classes here for free. We really try to provide a safe, supportive environment for students to try college. Make sure they have that rigor and just the accountability of college and homework, and help them with time management, all those things so then we transition them to college. They've experienced it here and gotten the opportunity to be successful, or if they're not successful, we wrap them back around, help them, look at why they weren't successful and help them to make different choices or decisions, or put supports in place so that then they can be successful. And all those those barriers we get help with from our workforce navigator. So we have navigation support, and the coordinators work with the students. So they have that opportunity to work out issues before enrolling in college. They receive our instructors who they have their articulated courses here, go with them out to the college and are available for them in the beginning English class. The teacher who teaches the developmental English class here is in the college class with them and co-teaches, or co-instructs, integrated we call it, instruction with the RCTC instructor. They plan together the class, but it helps our students. They're just it gives them that little bit of hand holding from us to them, so that they're comfortable with that transition.
We also have, after our courses out at RCTC that are co-taught, we have labs that follow up and writing workshops. And many times the instructors from RCTC join our instructors then in our lab experiences, our flex labs, our writing workshops. So it's gotten to the point where that they partner both ways. The students really benefit from that. It is shown that our grades and our success rate in the English 11-17 course is much higher than the traditional pathway for students. So it's been a huge benefit. So students have tried to get into the next level of, say, LPN or RN, and they have to be accepted. Their grade point averages are typically pretty high. We also, for those students, back to the articulations, if students aren't successful in a developmental course out at RCTC, that can impact their financial aid. and their grants. So trying it out at Hawthorne, taking those courses here at Hawthorne doesn't have that negative effect if they're not successful. Also, we have a lot of students who have tried college in the past at RCTC, and they've been referred from RCTC over to Hawthorne to take the developmental courses here and to retake them while they build their financial aid and they repair that and repair their GPA. They can do that over here at Hawthorne. Next slide, I think.
How does it benefit our local college? Well, we feel that our students, it raises their retention and completion rates because the students are completing their program that they've decided on. We supports the college mission statement. Colleges have students enrolling. These are students who otherwise probably would never have enrolled at RCTC, and now they are enrolling and being successful. Students have been first time tried to get their college opportunity to improve their academic skills and work on barriers. It's kind of like they get a second chance to our students, like maybe like weren't successful, like Kim said, and now they get a second chance to pursue their career pathway. We give them that opportunity. We have a transition advisor here that helps them then, like if they get in financial aid difficulty, we help them repair that and write the letters and figure out a payment plan so that then they get that second chance to continue on in that career of their choice.
I think it also kind of goes back to the second chance. It gives the college an opportunity to have somewhere to refer students who weren't successful the first time around, rather than just to wait it out. They can actually have a place for students to come, work through those barriers, and then wrap back around to the college.
We feel like we're the safety net.
Thanks, Nadine. I may have skipped a slide. I would like to go back to show and have you discuss what the collaboration does to benefit your ABE program.
Well, because we have a great referral system with the college, like Kim said, the students who weren't successful the first time, increases our enrollment because we have those students referred here. So it increases our enrollment, our hours. We feel it's a very positive reputation in the community that, we have this, they see us as a positive and we see them as a positive. We feed back and forth to each other.
It's really increased the overall ABE program, even for students who are at an ABE level, like a reading 2. They understand that there is a pathway here at Hawthorne that they can achieve to go on to college. So that's really increased a lot of the interest that students have here, and they know they can start it here at Hawthorne.
Yeah. We retain our students longer here also. And it is really nice when you have good partnerships with your college and your workforce. It really gives you some nice grant opportunities to write some grants.
So we have next to, right on our main floor, we actually have offices for an RCTC advisor, the transition advisor, and for our navigators. So we meet the workforce navigators. So we meet on a weekly basis to team each student and where they're at. I always tell students, just like you have a healthcare team, well, you have an education team. And we're the team that are going to help you transition to the college. Once you're out there, we're not going to just be gone. You'll have the people there to help you with the next steps.
So how did we begin this collaboration? It's like Shane said, if you can find a key person and a champion, it makes it much easier to build that collaboration with your local college. For us, we happen to have a person, Jamie Johnson, who worked with us as a social worker. And so she really understood our program because she referred clients here in that role. And then she got a job at RCTC as a transition advisor and felt that, you know, we were still a good collaboration for the students that she was working with. So she brought in her supervisor and Dale Amy, and he was really the one instrumental in starting the articulation agreements with us. Then we received a federal grant to do in the healthcare field with actually it's Rochester Community and Technical College received that grant, and ABE was a partner in that grant. So that kind of jumped us off into the healthcare career pathway that we currently have, which is pretty strong, Bridges to Healthcare. Locally, there's a committee that meets monthly. It's called the CARE Committee. It's the collaboration among Rochester educators, and I'm a member of that team. And so that's a collaboration between Rochester Public Schools and Rochester Community and Technical College. And so ABE I sit on that committee. And the colleges just recognizes that ABE is successfully transitioning students into their system. They just see us as a nice feeder like they would see a high school, a local high school. This is well, I'll let you stop this to that.
So in our articulation agreements, we have, this is an actual course completion that a student would get, saying what they completed, what they were awarded. These then are transition advisor from RCTC. She then takes those to RCTC and these are submitted. This is their record that is submitted into their RCTC's DARS report so that it shows that they've taken these classes. So this is a completion certificate after they've completed an articulated class. All articulated classes are at an 80% or better, so a B or better, and they have to take this, and their certificate has to be used within 2 years. So if they come back and they go to the college and it's been 3 years, it's no longer valid, so they'll have to retake that class. But it states what it's for on that certificate.
And this is just an example of RCTC, when they write the articulation agreement, this is kind of the information that needs to be filled in for so that we can get that agreement.
Each college has articulation agreements, whether they're using them just with your K-12 or in other areas, so they're familiar with the articulation agreements. All right.
What challenges have we encountered? Well, I mean, when you have an articulation agreement, you have to have the staff with the necessary qualifications in order to teach that articulated class. So sometimes that can be a challenge. We haven't had as much success partnering with our math department at RCTC as we have with the English department and the psychology department and the administrative office professional department and the nursing department. So we're still working on, that math department. But we do AccuPlacer prep here for math, and we do AccuPlacer testing on site. So we can give students an idea of where they would be at before sending them over. It's, as Shane said, if you have those key people in the place, the problem is sometimes those key people leave, and then that's why the articulations are nice, because you have kind of a document, and even if those people leave, you still have that documentation to continue on the good work, and then gives you a time to educate the new people into why this partnership is so wonderful. There is a little bit of tension sometimes between ABE and the developmental education department at RCTC, but we're working on that, just open communication, having them come here and see what we're doing, we go there and see what they're doing, how can we, do what's best for students. And then just fulfilling the requirements that the different, you know, what do we need to have for our documentation and data, and what do they need to have for their documentation and data, and really maybe just getting data out of all the different systems that is accurate and correct, and how you're helping students, so you can use that moving forward.
Our solutions are, we are lucky enough to be able to administer AccuPlacer testing right on site. We have a trained employee who can do that for us. We don't do that for everyone. For those students who test really high on the ABE assessments, then we'll refer them for AccuPlacer testing. Or for those students who did study math here and put so many hours in, we do math AccuPlacer as well. We're lucky enough to have a transition advisor through RCTC, and she works 2 days a week here with students, and then she follows them out at RCTC. So she's out to RCTC 2 days a week with the same students, helping them transition. We have bi-monthly team meetings, and those are big meetings. We have those with RCTC, our Workforce Center, and ABE. And more important, we also have them monthly meetings that include those folks along with all of our employers who are part of our grants. We have once, probably what, a quarter or once a year, probably our legislators come in, our employers, RCTC leadership and departments, and we discuss what's going on. We actually have had students come in and talk about where they started and where they're at now. And we try to do that at least once a year.
Key advice. I think Shane said it too. This work's not easy, and it takes time, and you need to find the right people at your local colleges to be your champion. Oop, you missed my slide. You gotta
Go back.
oh. And I said this before. It's difficult sometimes to collect data from all the different partners so that you can show success and use that success then to write grants, that type of thing. I think one of the key things, I mean, with the articulation is we piggybacked on what our district was doing for collaborations with their local colleges. And so then we could piggyback on that. And it's really important to get your employer, you know, some of your key employers or your big employers in your communities to support the different pathways that you have going on, because if they support it, then they are your advocate or your champion also with the local colleges.
They really have been our support and our voice that will help the colleges understand why it's important to take these two programs and meld them together. So the resources that have been useful, like I said, we have a monthly meeting, and that includes all of us that are in a partnership together. We do it, and it takes probably about 2 hours. We divide it up by career pathways. And so the first 45 minutes, we might talk about the nursing pathway that we have. The next 45 minutes is more for our administrative office professionals and our maintenance program. So we have people kind of coming and going throughout that meeting, and we always have employers there.
And this is one of the key, the person from Mayo Clinic who comes, this is actually a working group. It's a group that you're coming to solve problems, bring resources to the table.
I think that it's taken us a long time, but we have developed career pathway materials for outreach, and we have a pretty extensive one for students at intake. Intakes usually take us, you know, as you all know, take a while, but to have the tools there to explain it, to see, so that they can map it out to see what it looks like, has been very useful. We have student transcripts that we have agreed to create. They're a lot of work, but that's what the students will have, and that goes into their DARS report too. But it's been useful so that we can all have the same tools. And probably the RCTC transition advisor being here on a regular basis, being the same person, she helps with everything. In fact, we have a course, one of our articulation courses is called Transition to College and Introduction to D2L. She helped teaches that course. So she's within that course, and that's what they're in that course. They're doing their financial aid. She's helping them with every aspect while our teacher is teaching them how to use the desire to learn, the D2L.
And I think the other thing I want to say is that the other student transcripts that we've developed is with the employers, that when we develop a pathway, we'll meet with employers to say, you know, what are the skills in the classes would you like to see your possible potential employee have? And then we'll develop that for the employers, and then they can upload that on their resumes when they apply for things, and the employer knows it because what it looks like, they've helped develop it, and they know the importance of it.
So many times when you add those transcripts the students do to an application, that employer then knows that's been a Hawthorne student, that's been an RCTC student, they went through the pathway, they'll maybe give them extra points. Sometimes they'll ensure an interview, it just depends, but those student transcripts that are specific for certain pathways have been very beneficial.
So I had one person ask how we set up our AccuPlacer testing on site. We work with our college to help us be a site, AccuPlacer testing site.
So it's just for our students only, and they have to, you know, they have to test high on an ABE assessment. They have to, yeah, and they have to go through so many hours, and that's something that our CTC agreed to.
Thanks, you guys, for letting us know all about the collaborative work that you're doing down in Rochester. You have so much happening. As you said, there was a question about that AccuPlacer. Someone else, I think it was also Liz, asking about that branding of Hawthorne, because it seems to have a lot of weight when you talk about ABE and Hawthorne within your community. Was that something that took time for that branding?
So it did take time, but the branding kind of happened as we pulled key employers, as we got a grant, or we talked about developing a new career pathway. So like our newest pathway is administrative office professionals, or I could even say maintenance. Let's say we just got a P2P grant to expand into maintenance. So we looked at our community and said, who are the key employers that we were looking at targeting for this pathway? And then we met with them and said, okay, so what skills would you like to see someone coming into your workforce? What skills would you like to see an employee have? And, you know, they would talk about, well, we'd like some math skills. We'd like to make sure they have some computer skills. We'd like them to be able to read or do emails, those type of things. So we talked through with them, and then we develop a transcript type of thing with classes and grades, right? And that they would like to see this employee have. And I think that's a big piece of it, is working with your employers, and then they see value in it because they had a part in making that happen. You know, they had a part in saying these are the skills I want.
We also we just developed some branding as a whole team between Rochester Community and Technical College, RCTC, us, and the Workforce Center, and it's called Bridges to Careers, and we're all on that together. And I think that has a lot of weight with students too, because it says all three of us on this material. Almost everything we hand out now says Bridges to Careers.
That's great. I might reach out for you to maybe give us some examples or the website, and I could be posting those into the ACP Schoology networking group, and we can be sharing them with the larger field.
If you Google Bridges to Careers, there is a website.
Okay, great. Thank you. Some questions are coming in. My takeaway is to work with Winona. St. Charles is so tiny, and Southeast and Career Force is to get system in place for our GED grads. I'd love to visit Rochester to see the program in action. So are you guys open to visits?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Other people are saying it's great information. Some other people would like more information about the Bridges to Careers. I'm just looking at the time, and we might want to set in that website. Is it just Google Bridges to Career Rochester or Hawthorne? What might be the best?
I think just Bridges to Careers.
Okay.
Yeah. We also can send that you can add to it. We can send you our flyers that we have as well.
That would be ideal. I would love just to show what you are doing, because it seems that you have been doing so much great work. Shane says great work happening in Rochester. If you guys look in the chat box, I think that the Bridges to Careers.org link is there. Thank you, Patsy, for doing that. It's really wonderful work to see how you are really making that collaborative effort to support learners as they move on to career pathways. Great work. If there are other questions, you can chat them out. Otherwise, I'm going to move us along, and I'm sorry about the little snafu with the mix-up of the slides, but we got through it. Here we go. Just to let folks know, oops, here we go, that adult career pathway, we are using the information from the OCTA's Career Pathways Checklist. You have this in your materials section, so it's talking about what a career pathway is. And as Julie pointed out earlier, with the diagram of a fully realized pathway, it aligns with your regional, local, and industry needs. It also prepares participants for secondary and post-secondary educational success. And that is what we are highlighting today, is that post-secondary educational success. It includes counseling supports, and I think both Nadine and Shane and Kim were pointing out all of the support with those navigators and advisors. And an adult career pathway also offers education, workforce preparation, and training concurrently as often as appropriate. And I think that you guys are doing great work in Rochester, and you're showing how you're making it happen. We also know that the ACP, or Adult Career Pathway, organizes education, training, and support services to accelerate advancement for our learners who might not have the time. And it enables participants to earn high school diploma or equivalent, at least one post-secondary credential, which both of our presenters are showing about that post-secondary credential. We also know that the adult career pathway helps participants enter or advance within a specific occupation or occupational cluster. And this is coming from M-State, the occupational different clusters and fields, and we're all working to accelerate that. Julie would like people to know that OCTA is the Office of Career and Technical and Adult Education, and it is our ABE federal office. So this information is federally disseminated throughout the United States. So what can you do to get started? In the materials section, you can find the Career Pathways Checklist. There's a self-assessment tool, and I think many of you perhaps have used this tool if you took the program development cohort in the past. It is also located on the Atlas ABE website in the Adult Career Pathways Resources Library. But download the self-assessment toolkit to see where you fit and where your program fits within that adult career pathway. There are some other resources that are available for adult career pathways. Many of them are located right at atlasabe.org. There is a link in the materials section that can bring you to this resource right away. You can access the Adult Career Pathways tools and resources by clicking under Resources, Adult Career Pathways, and you can find many resources available there. Liz Andrus is the curator. She's working on a lot of curriculum that has been developed around the state in various career pathway clusters. You can also look in the section of the ACP development tools for information on effective collaboration, as well as more information on integrated education and training, or the IET. If you would like to, I highly encourage you to join the ACP networking group. Many of you already have, but I would like others to join in. There is the how to join the ACP networking group in the materials section. I would encourage that we continue these discussions that have developed through this really engaging webinar, especially about ability to benefit, or I saw some questions about the 40-hour rule, questions about that AccuPlacer testing on site. Let's keep this discussion engaging and alive online through the ACP Schoology group. If there are other questions you have, you can be posting them on the ACP Schoology group. If you have any questions about the resources that are available in the materials section or on the ACP section of the Atlas website, please raise your hand or chat them out right now. I see Belinda says, thank you for the information. She's going to be digging into many of the rich material that are posted, but we're more than welcome and we're more than happy to share this information with you. I'm going to turn this over to Patsy, who has some more information about future adult career pathway events.
Thanks, Heather. And just wanted to thank Heather for organizing and coordinating today's webinar, and to our guest speakers from over on the stage. So Kim and Nadine and Shane, thank you so much for joining us. Just a reminder that there's a lot of great stuff in the materials section, as Heather and others have pointed out. If you go to the next slide, Heather. We've got some upcoming webinars. Hopefully these are already in your calendar. They are in the Atlas events calendar. So if you want to go ahead and register those so that they appear in your email and in your online calendars, they are on Thursday, January 16th. Focus on engaging employers. Thursday, the 20th of February will be one on ACP enrollments and retention. And then focusing on navigation in adult career pathways in May. So we're doing a lot of these webinars during the winter months, as you can tell, and of course, other things happening throughout the year as well. We also have an event on May 1st that we really want you to put in your calendars now. It'll be an all-day event at the Department of Education and Adult Career Pathways. Still in development, but stay tuned for more information about that, and be sure that you save the date. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you on the January webinar. We'll the three or four of us, can't remember how many there are, will stay here, of course, for a little bit and answer any questions you have. We're happy to chat, or you can unmute yourselves and talk a little bit after we close the webinar. I'm going to stop the recording shortly, and thank you so much for joining us, and thanks again to Heather and all of those who contributed on the webinar today. Thanks so much. Bye. Thank you.